Jodi Rodgers, welcome to the Mojo Wellbeing Podcast.
Thank you, Andy.
Thank you so much for your generous gift of time. I know you're a busy person, but yeah, amazing to be able to have a yarn with you about wellbeing, and also really appreciative of this space. We're in the beautiful Lennox Head on the north coast of New South Wales, Australia. And we're in the cultural centre here, which is a really cool facility. So really appreciative of the locals here for making this available, I should say. So Jodi.
Andy.
Who are you?
Who am I? The big question we all ask ourselves at some point or other. I'm pretty fortunate. That's who I am, a very fortunate person. Grew up in a great family. My parents still together after 60 odd years. Have 3 siblings. I'm close with all of my family. We're very close, very loud.
Yeah.
It's a very, very loud family.
Yeah.
Come from a family background with a lot of social justice attached to it. Not so much in people's work, not my parents' work, but they came through really believing in the power of education. And so that was really laid out for my siblings and myself, that education is really key. Not education that has to be traditional. I'm not saying you don't have to go to university or whatever, but education in terms of reading and learning and being curious. So that was sort of part of how I was brought up, really.
Yeah. Cool. A love of reading?
Love reading.
Yeah, me too. I was a bit of a voracious reader.
Yeah, I eat books. That's how I talk about it. And I actually get nervous. If I don't have a book on the go, then I actually get a little bit, I need a book. So there's books in my house that I would have read a number of times, just because if I run out of a book, I have to find. I can't move through the world without having words.
What are one or two of your favourite books, most inspiring books?
Oh my God. That's a massive question to ask.
I'll give you one. One of mine is The Power of One, Bryce Courtney.
Oh, really?
Yeah, amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing. Bit of a boy's book, but...
Yeah. I love, a more recent one I love is a book called, a man called Ove, that's written by a guy called Frederick Backman.
Ove?
Yeah, OVE.
Okay.
And he was, I think he's from Switzerland or Sweden. He was an incredible writer who didn't go out to get a book, but he wrote a blog and he based it around this character, and people just loved it and kept encouraging him to write. And this became an international bestseller, basically on the word of mouth of other people. But it sort of captures one man who's in his 70s or 80s. It sort of captures him in a really small world. But it just shows you how incredible people are, and all kind of the quirkiness of us and our history and how we move through the world and why we become the people that we become.
Which is very relevant to my first question, isn't it? So, 1 of 4, did you say?
Yep, 1 of 4.
And where were you in the age order of the siblings?
I'm number 2, so second daughter, so 2 girls, 2 boys.
So you weren't the oldest and you weren't the youngest.
We weren't the oldest, and very close in age. So I think between the 4 of us, there might be 6 years, 7 years. So we're very, very tight, sort of gang. Very different individuals, but I always say if I met my siblings on the street, had a conversation with them, I'd probably want them to be my friends. So
that's cool.
Yeah, it's cool.
Yeah, I'm one of 2, and I have an older brother, and we're very close. He lives in Ireland. He's got 5 kids, but I remember my brother and I used to fight like cat and dog, but the moment he went to university, my gosh, I missed him.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're really close. But I found out about you at the Byron Writers Festival last year, and you were, I think, with Mandy Nolan.
Yeah.
And you were talking about your book, Unique, which I've read a few times, and some of my family members have read it as well, and it's a beautiful book. So let me just read just from the back so people have a bit of a sense of what you're all about.
Yeah.
Beloved star of ABC TV's award-winning Love on the Spectrum and disability rights advocate Jodi Rodgers shares stories from her 3-decade career working with the autistic community and calls for a more inclusive and accepting society where we're more empathetic and curious about all the relationships in our lives. Jodi explores the powerful impact of embracing neurodiversity and forming meaningful connections with those around us. Each chapter highlights a different story and an aspect of human behaviour. And the thing I love about the book is that it shares the story of one person and then another person, and they have quite different idiosyncrasies, I guess, but it really, for me, having a child that is neurodiverse, it really was a eye-opener for me and probably gave me a much better sense of what was going on for my child.
Yeah.
And a little quote from the New York Times, which I love, which is, "We could all do with a Jodi in our lives."
I didn't pay that journalist.
So the book's called Unique: What Autism Can Teach Us About Difference, Connection and Belonging. Jodi, what inspired you to write the book?
I've never thought of myself as a writer, ever. And in actual fact, I was approached to write the book. So on the back of Love on the Spectrum, it went global on Netflix, and so there's people in the United States, more than here at home, but there's people that are called creative agents. And I think, obviously they saw something in me. So I was originally approached, they were saying things like, Jodi, do you want to do a TED Talk? Or, so there was a lot of opportunity that came out, but people were saying to me, have you written a book? No. Would you? No. And then one of these creative agents who was originally from Australia, obviously just got the Australian way of moving through the world, and she just said to me, why don't you give it a crack? Because I was saying to her, when I was speaking to her, I kept telling stories, and she said, but you're a storyteller, you tell all these stories, and just write me one thing, just write it down. And so, which is now the first story in the book, Luna's Pool. So I wrote that. So I never pictured, it was not part of my plan in life. It wasn't a goal that I'd set for myself to say, you should write a book. But
So it was the TV series that then
gave the opportunity.
Right.
But what was interesting about that, Andy, is that I have had people for a long time say, you should write that down, because I'll tell the story, or when I'm delivering training or workshops, or in a situation like I'm talking with you, if I'm trying to explain something, I'll often do it through story. So storytelling was where my art form was, but oral storytelling. And then I was just incredibly fortunate that something about my voice, this Aussie voice, something about this voice completely resonated with people. And so the book has now been published here in Australia and New Zealand, the US, Canada, so North America, the UK.
Someone at the New York Times obviously likes you.
Yeah, they liked me. Yeah. But I think I'm just very lucky that whatever it is about this book, that people have found something in it. And because it is lots and lots of short stories, it's also been really interesting that people have come back and said, my favourite bit's this, or then somebody else will say, my favourite bit. So it also resonates with people in different ways. So I'm very, very lucky that I had the capacity to be able to take what's going on in my head and get it out onto paper.
Yeah, awesome. So, for me, autism is deeply personal. It impacts someone I love. It feels like, you know, I did a little bit of research before this interview specifically about the trend or the incidence of autism, and you know, obviously there's been a huge increase, and the explanation seems to be that there's just greater awareness, so there's more diagnoses. What's your sense of that?
I have been around for quite some time, so I've watched this multiple times change. So prior to the 1990s, you had to have an intellectual disability to be diagnosed as autistic.
Okay.
And then,
Okay.
yeah, so we didn't have.
So we weren't comparing apples to apples potentially.
No,
Okay.
we were pretty silly. We're pretty silly humans at the best of times. So you know, autism was only for people with an intellectual disability.
Right.
And then I think we started getting a bit smarter and started thinking, hang on, it's not just about your learning capacity, of your cognitive abilities. It's also about the fact that we can have social and emotional complexity that also makes us struggle. And so then it expanded. So at that point, the diagnosis was Asperger's. And then it was revised again. So I've seen the diagnostic criteria for autism change, or I say 3.5 times. So three times and revised once. And we're now in a period where we're waiting for the diagnostic manual to be redone. So probably within the next, I'd say 2 years, because it's been 13 years, the last one was 2013. So they're meant to redo within, you know, that period of time. It will change again. So that's one thing that we have to remember, that there's, as a diagnosis extends, more people come into it.
Yep.
The diagnosis was also really heavily based on male representation. Now we're understanding that a female or non-binary presentation is very different than a male presentation, so that explodes it out. We're only really, as humanity, starting to understand our neurology. So neuroscience is growing, but this thing in here,
amazing.
oh my God, it is so incredible. And
Limitless.
yeah, exactly. So when we talk about what's going on out there in the galaxy, I'm often thinking, what is going on in here?
Yeah.
It's like that big and that vast, and I think we're still learning.
Yeah, I think what's in here is the galaxy, you know.
Yeah.
It's pretty freaky.
Yeah, and there's a lot of things that you have to, you know, there's people test theories all the time. So of course people talk about the impact of microplastics. They talk about the impact of herbicides and pesticides in our, you know, how we eat, what we do. But the difficulty with that is that we don't have anything that is completely and utterly evidence-based. So we know that there is a genetic makeup to it. We know that it's we know that people have precursors neurologically. We know that this is from before utero. Now we have a better understanding of early childhood development, so people can pick up indicators.
So autism
earlier.
is pre-utero.
Yep.
Okay.
But diagnostically, there's also a thing that says that you don't, its diagnosis comes in when your development doesn't keep up with those of peers. So we'll have diagnosis of children when they're very, very young. We can see indicators of it from, you know, a year of age. So we get a cohort there that get a diagnosis. Then we see a second cohort often when kids are entering school, when they're not, once the scaffolding of the caregiver's taken away, and they're in the big gang, then we might go, oh, hang on, they're not keeping up socially with the other kids, or they're not emotionally. Then we see another jump, then we see another jump. So we get these jumps.
Yep.
There is a lot of people who are still getting late diagnosis, which is...
Yeah, I can relate to that.
Yeah, and it's because many of the wider community don't know, and I'm not speaking about Joe Blogg's humans out there. Even within the medical system, we have people that haven't quite got their heads around what it's about.
Yep.
And then access is a major problem. So if you are seeking diagnosis, just the way to get a diagnosis can put barrier. on people. So that gives late diagnosis as well.
Yeah, right. Something that is quite unique in Australia, and something I think we should be incredibly proud of is the National Disabilities Insurance Scheme.
Yeah.
For those people that our audience that might be in New Zealand,
Yeah.
US, Canada, Europe, what is so I think it's the acronym is the NDIS, the National Disabilities Insurance Scheme. What is it and why is it so important?
Yeah, before we had NDIS, this scheme, the way that our government funded support for people with a disability was that it was done what we call block funding. So an organisation would apply for funding and the government might say, yes, here you go, there's, $500,000. And with that $500,000, you fulfil this contract. And that contract might say, you provide early intervention, you have to do this for this many families in this region. So then based on that budget, that only allowed you, and I can remember these days, it might only allow you to support a child and their family for 2 hours a week. There may have been no home visiting. There wasn't access to different therapies. So it was based on one thing fits all, which is not the truth.
Yep.
So NDIS, rather than looking at a group, looks at individuals. And it's based on our functioning. So if you and I were given an assessment, it might say, well, here's what Andy needs and here's what Jodi needs. We both might be autistic, but your needs and supports will be different to mine. And then the funding is allocated based on your need and my need. So it's equity. It's got a quality to it, but it's based on equity. It's based on you being provided with your individual need, me being provided with my individual need. And it has been absolutely brilliant for people of, all types, and it's a vast array of people with a disability and their families.
And it's been a game changer, it's been a lifesaver for a lot of people.
Yep.
It's a political hot potato, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Some people have, be a little bit provocative, rorted the scheme, which has given it a very bad reputation, but it is so important. You said, Jodi, you said something at the Writers' Festival that really smacked me between the eyes and hurt my heart as well.
No.
In a good way. It actually was
okay.
very inspiring, and it is one of the things that have happened over the last couple of years that have inspired me to start Mojo Wellbeing. And with your permission, it's going to be a core value for Mojo. And it goes something along the lines of a model community should be judged on how people of privilege give help and support to those that need a leg up. So how are we doing?
That was a big sigh. I think that we have a long way to go with this. I think that we still, we seem to put valued status on people who have got wealth. And I'm talking wealth as in monetary wealth. I'm talking about people who are successful in old school terms. I'm talking about, people...
Become a lawyer, a doctor, all that sort of stuff. Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with we need them. Definitely we need them.
Heaven forbid.
Yeah. But I think when we're talking about privilege, we're also talking about my skin colour. We're also talking about, when I'm saying this, I'm talking about the majority. We should be judging our society on whether the majority, whoever that majority is, or people of privilege, whether that's economic privilege or our racial privilege or our gender privilege or whatever our privilege is, those are the people that should be giving back more. all the time. And I think we shouldn't be sitting around judging a society on, this is where we get back to the equality versus equity, that thing of people going, well, everybody should have, the same. Why do these people, why aren't we giving, why does that person just get that for free? Or why do they get NDIS?
Because human beings are different.
They're different. And also, I thought that's what being a decent human was about. I thought being a decent human was when you see somebody that has greater need than yourself and you are able to provide that assistance and you give it. That's what I thought being a good human was about. I just think that's basic kindness and compassion. For me, that's just basic.
Yep.
So, that's how I'd like us all to be judged.
Me too. I recently went on a wee bike ride.
A wee bike ride?
Yeah, wee bike ride, a charity ride in New Zealand. And when I decided to do the ride, in some respects it was for me. It was for my mental health.
Yeah.
It was also to honour my kids.
Yeah.
But when I decided to do this very crazy indulgent ride, I thought, well, I'm going to ride 1,200 k's across half of New Zealand. I should actually raise some money for charity.
Yeah.
So I partnered with 4 charitable causes. One was Mighty, which was started by Sir John Kirwan. He's a very famous All Black, but the reason he's a Sir is not because of rugby, because of the work he's done in mental health.
Yes.
The second was Conductive Education,
Yep.
and their tag is putting the ability back into disability.
Yep.
And I found out about Conductive because I interviewed Sir Wayne Smith back in August, and he's a life member of Conductive. So that's the second one. Those are both New Zealand based charities, but because I'm a Kiwi living in Australia, I thought, well, there's got to be some fairness there. So 2 in New Zealand, 2 in Australia. So one of the other charities was the Paddock Project. Karen and the team just outside of Byron that do
one of my favourite
amazing work. And in fact, after we release this interview with you, Jodi, the next one's actually going to be the Paddock Project with Karen.
You know how you were saying about the New York Times writing that piece? That they did a full article about me, the New York Times, and the photo that they used in the article is me sitting in front of that love
I saw it
sign.
when I was doing my research.
So that's a brilliant organisation.
I just discovered it, and when I realised that 95% of the people that work at the Paddock Project are kids impacted by disability or people that might feel marginalised, I thought, wow.
Yeah.
A place that's growing in season, fresh, organic foods and tropic farming, but giving these kids a sense of belonging. They're learning how to grow their own food. I think Karen gives them lunch every day so they get a good feed, but they're eating this beautiful food and they're selling it to the local community. So, when I think about the not-for-profits that I want to support, a grassroots like that for me is amazing because you know where the money's going, and you trust the people involved. So we had Mighty, Mental Health for Kids, the John Kirwan, Conductive Education, which is putting the ability back into disability, the Paddock Project in Mullen, and the fourth was actually my own charitable foundation called Mojo Ride. And that's purely about accelerating the development of bike paths in Australia, because I've just spent 3 weeks riding around New Zealand, which has an embarrassment of riches in terms of bike paths. And people might think, well, bike paths, big deal. But what it means is in New Zealand, we're getting to a point where you can circumnavigate the country and there is a safe walkway, cycleway, multi-use, away from the busy roads, and people can be in nature and enjoy the surroundings. You know, I'm currently staying in Kingscliff, and I can get on my bike and ride from Kingscliff to Pottsville on this beautiful pathway right next to the ocean.
Yeah.
You see the work that's being done, the rail trail at Mooble to Wollumbar, and you see all these families out there getting exercise. So for me, it's not about, I don't know, quote a Lance Armstrong book, it's not about the bike. It's actually about being in nature, about families being together, and exercising. You know, there's a lot. You know, if I think about my wheel of life, you're ticking a lot of boxes by being in nature and exercising. Paddock Project, these kids, you know, in the gardens, etc. So, really, massively. So when we think about our kids, what do you think we need more of? Because I having worked in technology for a long time now, I'm deeply worried about the impact of screens, dopamine, and technology on the well-being of our kids. I'm deeply worried that it's taking them away from being outside, being connected to the earth, the ocean, sky, being in nature, exercising, and connecting with another human. What, when you think about where we are today and what you see for the future, what do you think, you know, rather than being deficit driven, what do you think we need more of to ensure our kids' well-being? Because really the standard of living and the opportunities out there for our kids are unprecedented. Yet it seems like the health's actually going the other way. So what do we need to do you think?
When
Jodi?
I think about this, and you know, for my world, I think connection with other people is so integrally important. And so I'd say the number one thing that as adults we should be doing for children, mainly when they're young, is playing. And that's, kids know how to play. Kids know how to play so well. And when you're talking mindfulness, when a child's playing, they are completely in that.
Immersed.
As adults, we lose that capacity. We lose it. And so what happens is that we forget that if we really want to connect with kids, then we need to play with them. And when I'm talking play, I'm not talking about making some Lego, but at the same time, you're on your phone, which I see a lot, you know, or that you're going through lists in your head, or you think about what's going on at work. If you really want to connect, if you're completely mindful, and if you want to do it as, you know, functional daily mindfulness, when you play, it's reconnecting back with how we all know how to play because we all did it. If you play with a child, you get their attention, you get the connection, screens disappear. That we as adults need to put that time into just finding the fun of hanging out with kids. That's number one. As kids get older, it's about, rather than bringing them to you, it's actually you going to them. So that, and I do this in my practice when I'm working with autistic people, like I follow their lead all the time. Some other thing is, even if you're not 100% into it, if a young person is showing an interest in something, try and involve yourself in that interest, whatever you can. Find that common denominator. Because then if you do that, if they say, oh, you know, I really like canoeing, bang, grab it and do it. Even if you hate it, just do it. You know, it's about anything that follow their lead is so important. And the other thing is that kids have got, young people today, their self-esteem is really poor. A lot of them, it's really, really poor. And so the more we can support young people to have a positive mindset, to be really talking about why do we have negative talk and helping them to understand that impacts on who are you, You know, trying to support them and build them up. We've got to be building them up all the time about who they are as a person.
Yeah, Sir Wayne Smith, or Smithy as he's affectionately known by most, talked a lot about a book called Learned Optimism.
Yeah.
Can't remember who the author was, but I'll put it in the notes at the end of this episode. And one thing he said is, you know, depression in a community is contagious.
Yep.
But he said optimism is even more contagious.
Yep.
So
I can tell you straight up that I can work with some people that are so isolated in my job, and they have felt really different their whole growing up years, and they may have experienced bullying, but they've carried in them that they're different, and that being different from the majority, that there's a problem in that. And I can see in my work the shock sometimes when they understand that I genuinely like them and genuinely see the good in them and genuinely appreciate them. It's like that valued status. When you take a young person that has this consistent negative view of self, like I'll have clients, because, you know, so many of my people just are straight up in the way they speak. They'll just go, "You like me, don't you?" Yes, I do. And it, like the joy that comes with that, and just them perceiving that they are liked. And as we know, one of the greatest things about resilience, and resilience is bantered around a lot, but there's really incredible research that says it actually has to come from people outside of family. So, you know, because your parents love you, that's love. But one of the things they can see is that if young people have somebody that doesn't have to be there, but is a trusted person in their life that they can go to, who actually really likes them as a person, that builds in them this sense. So we've got to stop thinking about nuclear family as well. We've got to start thinking about how could I be in your life to support your family as an extension of family, because that's community.
Yeah, it's interesting actually, because where my mind went then, Jodi, was, you know, the NDIS and support workers that often act as almost mentors to the kids.
Yeah.
And I see that.
Yeah. I call them wing people. So, or I go, "No, you're the wingman." Yeah. So if you've got somebody that's got a lot of social anxiety, as we know, like for me to go into a new environment, it's a lot easier to go in with my wing person, because then it's the two of us entering. That eases that anxiety. And so I look at support staff, because sometimes I go, "What do you mean they're going to these activities with them?" Yeah, because they're their wingman. That's the person that walks in to make it easier to walk in. And that person also generates the like that we're talking about. If you've got somebody in your ear all the time going, "You're the best, oh, this is so much fun, I love hanging out with you," that is so important. It's as important as somebody learning how to make their own cup of tea or tie their shoelaces. In my world, more important.
Absolutely.
Way more important.
Yep. Awesome. What do you think well-being is?
That's a good question, isn't it? And isn't it funny? You asked me that question, I immediately went quiet, because I actually use the word quite a lot.
That is so freaky, because I mentioned before the interview that when I did my research on Sir Wayne Smith, a name kept coming up.
Yeah.
David Galbraith. Yeah. The guy blows my mind, and I interviewed him a week ago.
Yeah.
And when I did my research, a young lady, I was watching her podcast, a beautiful New Zealand lady that hosts this podcast called The Good Day Matrix. And she asked that question to David Galbraith, and he, as he does, he, you know, took 2 or 3 seconds and he said, "It's quiet."
Yeah. Well, that's interesting you said that, because when you said to me, "What is wellbeing?" I'm very visual, and I think because of my life, I have been surrounded by people that have also taught me to do this. They've also taught me to process things slowly and take my time. But when you just said what is well-being, what I actually saw happen was that I went like this, something in my mind turned back inside and went down into my body. And then, because what I was trying to go is, what is well-being to me? Like, what's the feeling? So immediately I go, it's actually, well, well-being is being able to self-reflect and take time. And it's also for me, you know, it's every component of who we are. It's about, am I the best version of myself that I can be? And that can be, you know, different people have different ratios of these things. So for some person, their physical well-being and their health will be very different than another person. It's what is the best for me? When do I wake up in the morning going, man, I'm feeling really strong and fit and, you know, light. Well, it's different for everyone. But for me, I think physical is important, but I also hang around with a lot of people that have no physical capacity. And I really think it's here. I think our minds are so incredibly strong. So strong. And this is where it starts from. You know, this absolutely controls our breath. It controls every movement that we make. It controls our heart rate. It controls our emotion. It controls all of our body sensation. It controls our positive and our negative. And you know, getting back to that thing, we don't even have our heads around how incredible this thing is inside of us. So for me, well-being is, am I able to have a conversation? This is personal. Am I able to have a conversation with myself that I can come back to and feel content with? Am I able to, when I fuck up, am I able to sit with that and find peace and forgive myself for it and let go of regret? And am I able to then be conscious enough within my own body, which is from here too, to go, okay, well, what is this feeling in here? And then name it with an emotion. So I suppose that's a lot of words. That's good. A lot of words. But I think for me, well-being is probably the same thing. How deeply reflective can I be? And if I'm deeply reflective, can I come up with the answer to go, Jodi Rodgers, you're not too bad. Actually, you're pretty good. And if I can answer that to myself, that's well-being.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Cool. I love that. Now this is normally my closing question. Feels like we've only been talking 10 minutes. But,
I don't even know how long we have been talking.
But I love this question because it's a question that I ask when I coach. I've asked it in every coaching conversation in the last few years in a corporate capacity, but you know, I love using it in a sporting context as well. And for me, it's about, as you mentioned when we were chatting prior to the interview, you're dreaming. The Aboriginals talk a lot about the dreaming. And Dave Galbraith talks about this all the time in terms of setting massive, audacious goals. That seem so, he said, if they don't seem impossible, it's not the right goal. So if I'm lucky enough to be having a yarn with you again in December 28, which is a really important date for me in terms of my vision for Mojo, and we're having a cup of tea, I don't know if you drink or having a glass of wine or whatever it might be. It's near Christmas, December 28, and I say, Jodi, you know when we caught up back in, February 25, and where we are now, what are you most proud of? Because I think this is very powerful because it puts your future state in your present, as if it's already happened.
Mm.
So, you know, when we are having that yarn in December 28, what are you going to be telling me?
What I'm most proud of.
What's happened in those, you know, for 46 months?
I would be most proud of if the people that surround me that fill my cup up are still filling my cup up.
Mm.
Well, it's funny because I could list a whole lot of things to you. I could list that I would have grown my work, not so much with individual clients, but being able to connect more with the greater community to have better understanding of neurodivergent people and how we as a wider community can actually move towards them rather than making them move towards us. You know, that deeper connection with people. There's personal goals, like I'd like to do a really big long walk, a really big long one. I grew up in Tassie, so I'd like to do a big long walk, probably back in Tassie.
Well, with all these bike trails now, and apparently Tassie's amazing. There's also, apparently, I was chatting to someone when I was on my bike ride, there's a 1,000k thing in WA as well.
Yeah.
So they're starting to, so there's lots of opportunity. And I don't know, I'm probably biased, but I would recommend New Zealand for some amazing walking.
Beautiful place. But I think I'd like to be able to say, if I'm deeply honest, I think I'd like to be able to say, if it's a really personal thing, I'd like to say that I'd be really proud if I could, every moment of miscommunication, every moment of not being brave enough to speak out about injustice, every time there was something that I'm talking people. I think my proudest stuff is always my relationships with other people. And so if you ask me in December 2028, what am I most proud of? That'd probably be my answer, that I was brave enough to speak up when I wronged another person and that we could fix that miscommunication. And the second one would be that I had been brave enough when I witnessed somebody speaking with injustice, that I was brave enough to speak up against that. That would probably be it.
Courage.
Yeah, just to have courage.
Awesome. Thank you, Jodi. Cannot tell you how much I appreciate you giving up your time. I know you're a very busy human.
That's all right.
And I feel very honoured to be interviewing you in your home patch in Lennox and in this beautiful facility. There's kids all around us, and which feels actually very appropriate. And I really do hope that we get to have a yarn again in maybe a couple of years.
Always up for a chat.
Check in. But thank you.
Thank you so much.
We're done.
We're done.